Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now, today's episode, we're going to take a look at a dying breed in the game of credit and finance, and that is the charge card, right? There still are some left in circulation from some issuers. So, of course, we'll talk about what charge cards are, how they work, some pros, some cons, some things you need to be aware of. Of course, go over some examples in case you want to add charge cards into your arsenal. So, of course, if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, batting leadoff, like I said, charge cards are kind of a dying breed in the credit card game. There's still a few in circulation, primarily from American Express. We'll go over some examples towards the middle part of this. But to start out, charge cards, how are they functionally different than a credit card? Well, they're really not, honestly. So credit card, right, is a revolving line of credit. So maybe, you have a $1,000 credit limit. You go through, you make your purchases every month, and then at the end of the month, you're going to get a bill. So let's say you spend $100, right? So you have $900 in available credit limit left. So you're going to get about 3 weeks to pay that off. It's called the grace period. You can either pay that off or pay in full or pay the minimum, usually like $25 or percentage of the payment of the bill, something like that. And then your credit limit, your available credit limit is going to go back up by maybe by $25 to $925 if you made the minimum in this example. Charge cards, on the other hand, work the exact same. You make purchases. At the end of the month, you're going to get a bill. You have the 3-week grace period, except you can't actually carry a balance. You're going to have to pay that in full. There is no option to make a minimum payment, right? So functionally, again, the exact same. And arguably, it doesn't really matter because, again, you're supposed to think of paying your credit card off in full at the beginning, at the end of the month every single time, and never even, bothering to only make the minimum payment. So if you think about it like that, then functionally, they're the exact same. But for the fun of it, let's go through it and see the rest of the pros and the cons. So again, we covered it. It's one of those funny things that they have no preset spending limit. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you can just buy whatever you want, like a boat or anything on it, right? But there's no preset limit. It's more of a flexible, fluid amount that if you were to call into American Express and talk about a big upcoming purchases, they could probably work with you to figure something out. Now, again, we talked about it. You must pay in full each billing cycle. So as a result, there's less chance to accumulate debt because you have to pay it in full. And then there's no interest payments because you're not allowed to. And oftentimes there are rewards and benefits associated to these cards. Now, the cons here, well, they usually have higher annual fees. It should not surprise you because most of these are going to be Amex cards. You can miss payments, and if you do, then there can be really high late fees. And they typically require, higher credit scores of 700 plus to get approved for these. Now, again, like I said, not that big of a difference because you're supposed to think of, credit cards that way and paying them off in full. Now, another question that comes up a lot with charge cards is, well, it doesn't have a set credit limit, so how does this actually affect my credit score? Well, I'm so glad you asked. So if you take a look at this, it does report on-time payments because it's still a credit product. You're still making a payment, so that's good. It can help build credit. However, it doesn't necessarily hurt your credit utilization. Credit utilization takes a look at, how much revolving lines of credit you have versus how much you're currently using. So again, if you had a $1,000 credit limit, you're using, $100 of it, that's a 10% utilization rate. So there is no preset spending limit, so there's no limit to report to you. So this does also help if you're making a large purchase, and you're in that 3-week grace period and you haven't paid it off yet. It's not going to hurt that utilization. Now, it doesn't increase your total revolving credit limits either because, again, there's no credit limit to report on it. And basically, the FICO score models and the Vantage, they don't quite know what to do with it because, again, there's no credit limit to report. So as a result, you can kind of play it a little bit and it can help you out, in that sense. It's not going to hurt you at all. So again, that's the major differences. I do want to talk about one thing here that we've touched on again. That is the no preset spending limit. Now, again, we'll talk about some examples in a second, but Amex is the big one. And a lot of times, it's not that you can just literally buy whatever you want. Amex actually has made like a purchase power checking tool Or if you're going to go buy a boat or something, you can plug in the price and they can see, like, yes, we would approve you to buy this or not. Now, you got to be careful with that. You can't just check it a million times, because if you do, that can trigger things on Amex's side where they get concerned, like, why is this guy checking his purchase power so much, right? So I would say do it sparingly, do it when you need it, or you could phone in and ask them, hey, I'm thinking about buying this boat. Would you cover it? And so by that I mean like there is a limit that they would not approve, but it's more of a fluid amount versus like a regular Bank of America card has $1,000 credit limit. You can't go past that $1,000, so it's not unlimited like we think of. Like there literally is no cap. There is a line. It's just they give a lot more rope than other people. So with that, let's take a look at a few examples. And again, these are primarily going to be from American Express because they still have charge cards, even though they don't really refer to them as charge cards. But we'll take a look at two to kind of drive this home, especially why you'd want to. Now, the best charge card, believe it or not, the best use case one is actually the Business Plum card, which is one of the most misunderstood cards out there. Now again, you have a high annual fee of $250. And this is a charge card and it's aimed at businesses. So what they're saying here, the benefits are you can earn unlimited 1.5x cash back on the portion of your balance that you pay within 10 days of your statement closing date. Or you can get up to 60 days to pay without interest, which is a little bit different, right? Because again, we did say you have to pay, at the end of the billing cycle. So again, here they're giving you an option. Either earn 1.5x if you pay us in 10 days, or you could just take 60 days and not pay with interest. So what a lot of business owners will do with this card is if you're a drop shipper or you have to buy a lot of inventory, right? You can buy inventory, but you're not going to have money to pay off your inventory till you sell said inventory to pay off your bill. Something like this is great to use because again, you've got 60 days with no interest, or if you have a really hot sale, you can get 1.5x back. And that's probably the best use case of charge cards is folks who don't necessarily know how much money they're going to spend month to month within reason. Again, you can have massive purchase orders, massive spike in business, what have you, in the business sense. So this almost functions as a mini warehouse line in your pocket. Warehouse line is just like, it's a warehouse line of credit is a term that businesses use to fill their warehouse with inventory, right? And so that's the best use case. Now, of course, having access to this is going to cost you $250, but again, to a business doing volume like this, that $250 isn't really that big of a deal for the convenience of always having to fill their warehouse. And this right here, again, is probably the best example of why a charge card could be valuable to someone. Now, on the personal side, though, we will take a look at another one, and this is the American Express Platinum. Now, this just happens to be a charge card. It earns points. It has a ton of credits and benefits and things like that. None of this is related to it being a charge card, though. You could put these credits on a normal credit card, right? The only difference we're illustrating here is that once again it has a high annual fee. The gold card at $250, the green card at $150. Those will be your other charge cards in the Amex lineup. And again, those all have annual fees. Now again, I think the charge card part here is more for branding, that it sounds cool. There's no preset spending limit. You kind of associate that with American Express, and they're going after a different target demographic ideally. But overall, it could be a credit card, and that would be fine. And so overall, I think those two are enough to drive home the point of charge cards, the one primary use case that at least I can see here. Now, in addition to that, right, I said they're kind of a dying breed. So what's the future of charge cards, and why are they a dying breed? Well, again, Amex was the biggest provider of charge cards. And again, the green, gold, platinum are still classified as charge cards, even though American Express doesn't use that wording on their site at all. So why has this been the case? Well, I think overall charge cards started to scare people a little bit, the naming, because again, you have to pay in full, and even though that's best practice, as we talked about, sometimes that can be scary to people to not have any flexibility. The other reason is that I think a lot of issuers like Amex realize, I'm still missing out on a lot of interest money I could be making, right? If I force you to pay it in full every time, I'm missing out, right? I still have those high annual fees, but I could offer you a not so great option and then have you pay me interest, which would be even better for me as the bank. So we've seen a lot of cards stay charge cards, but offer a lot of different payment options. Buy now, pay later, basically pay over time, basically setting up payment plans on individual charges and things like that. And then they don't even use the word interest per se. They end up using, it'll be fixed monthly payments. It's basically the same thing. Again, your car payment is a fixed monthly payment. Interest is still factored in there. They just, use different words. So that's kind of why I think they're dying. Now again, Chase has, the Ink Premier, which I personally have, that's kind of a charge card, and the fact that you can't carry a balance with it, but they do show me that I have a credit limit of $10,000. They don't play the purchase tracking game or the purchase checking game, right? And then Chase, of course, also offers like my Chase Business Flex, which again is another way of saying, hey, well, it's a charge card, you're supposed to pay it off, but we'll also allow you to, carry charges over and pay us a fixed payment, things like that. So overall, I think that's kind of why these are kind of going away, because we figured out we can take advantage of people, get them to pay us more money if we give them the more flexible options. And overall, being a charge card probably sounded cool years and years ago, but I think it's kind of worn off now. And we kind of use the terms interchangeably anyways between credit card and charge card. So anyways, there you have it. That is charge cards. Dying breed, but for while they're around, at least you now know how they work. So overall, final thought, again, I would think of them the exact same. Think of your credit card as a charge card. It's one-on-one type stuff, but you gotta pay it in full every single time. Avoid that interest, because there is no rewards point earning card that can earn a high enough rate to outrun the interest payments. So anyways, guys, if you like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found a particularly interesting course, consider subscribing to the channel. Posting content just like this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Of course, right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. Of course, my question for you guys is, let me know what you think about charge cards. Specifically, why do you think we got away from them, and what do you think the future of them is? Would you like to see more charge card options, or overall, does it really not matter to you? Love to get your thoughts on that. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.